Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Talin Boghosian and I'm a research associate at Ovarian Cancer Canada. One of the things I'm lucky enough to be involved with is the Patient Partners in Research program, which is a national program of national group of women, many of whom are living with ovarian cancer, who are providing their valuable insights and experiences to enhance the quality of ovarian cancer research in Canada. Patient partners are immersed in all aspects of the OvCAN research initiative, such as serving on the governing council and on grant review panels for preclinical studies and clinical trials, becoming active members of research teams, and inspiring scientists and trainees. Many also tirelessly served as advocates to secure the $10 million in federal funding for OvCAN. This session will introduce you to only a handful of these incredible women, who will share their motivation for getting involved and their experiences thus far as a patient partner. Moderating this session today with me is Donna Pepin. Alongside her fellow ovarian cancer patients, Donna played a crucial role in lobbying the government to invest in ovarian cancer research. She now serves as a patient advisor on the OvCAN Governing Council and is the co-lead of OvCAN's Patient Partners and Research team. Donna, over to you.
Thank you, Talin. Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be here today, and I just want to say Happy World Ovarian Cancer Day, everyone. I'd also like to say thank you to Ovarian Cancer Canada for inviting our patient partners to be a part of this important national symposium today. Like many of you who are here today, I'm also an ovarian cancer patient. So I wanted to say just a shout out to my fellow patients, and especially to those of you who are recently diagnosed. I just want you to know that I've been living with ovarian cancer for 15 years, so don't ever lose hope. We all know the only way statistics around ovarian cancer will ever change is through clinical research and scientific progress. And because patients were so instrumental in securing funds from our federal government, OvCAN remains committed to patient involvement in cancer research in Canada. And priority is actually given to research projects that have a plan for patient engagement throughout the study. Today, we'll be talking to 3 members of our Patient Partners and Research team, but we want you to know that our team has really grown to include 20 members now from all across Canada. We have patient partners in research from BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Quebec. The Patient Partners and Research team meets every month with a focus on education and research updates. We ask that patient partners be willing to learn about research in general. For example, the Canadian Cancer Survivor Network offers a course called The Science of Cancer. And this is actually required learning for our members, and we review the modules at each of our monthly meetings. We also need our patient partners to be flexible because potential roles of patient partners can evolve over time as science continues to change. As more research projects are approved by OvCAN, there will be many more opportunities for patient partners to be part of a research team or a member of a funding review panel. COVID has definitely slowed the start of a few projects, but it's only a matter of time until we're up and running. So now let's talk to our patient partners. First, allow me to introduce our patient partners in research. From Ottawa, Ontario, this is Julee Pauling. Julee?
Hi everyone, bonjour, Quay. Welcome, I'm Julee Pauling, and I am a 10-year survivor of stage 4 high-grade serous epithelial ovarian cancer. And mine is one of the BRCA1 hereditary cancers. I had been aware of my family history all of my life. My mother had had BRCA-related cancer, as had my grandmother. She had died of it, and several other family members. Personally, I was diagnosed quite young at age 35. Regarding that diagnosis, I had done the genetic testing, and my status as a BRCA1 mutation carrier was confirmed. It was known by my doctors. And even so, we had started investigating some minor symptoms months before finding the actual cause. So I had some very, shortness of breath, early satiety, and a hard lump developed at the base of my neck. But it took a friend who had done research in the field of ovarian cancer to insist that I call my doctor's office to remind them about my status. And that's really what sped up my diagnosis. That year, I threw a huge 35th birthday bash, thinking that it might be my last, but hoping for the best. And a head and neck cancer specialist pronounced high-grade carcinoma of unknown primary. So we had to go searching for the cause. Ultimately, we found it. I had surgery, started chemo 2 weeks after that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the rest later. Since 2011, I've been involved with Ovarian Cancer Canada in multiple roles, voluntary roles, including as team captain, a keynote speaker for the Walk of Hope locally. I've been on local broadcast news several times to promote the Walk of Hope. And especially in 2018, it was my great honor to be part of the team to Parliament Hill to meet with the Minister of Health and other MPs. I spoke with my own MP personally, and I got him to write a letter to the Minister of Finance in support of our request. And more recently, I've had the honor of participating in a couple of research projects as a patient partner. That's me.
Thank you, Julie. And next we have Anne Chase speaking to us from Regina, Saskatchewan. Anne?
Hi, everyone. I'm Anne Chase from Regina and a 23-year ovarian cancer survivor, mother of 2 and grandmother of 4. I was the first Saskatchewanian to be appointed to the Ovarian Cancer Canada Board of Directors, served 3 terms, and now am a emeritus status. 17 years ago, I started SOCS, the Saskatchewan Ovarian Cancer Support Group for Women and Their Families. Through Ovarian Cancer Canada, I have participated in the Survivors Teaching Students program and listened to the whispers to tell our stories and raise awareness to the province. I have attended numerous conferences and workshops, often with a crew of fun-loving SOCS survivors along with me. I was instrumental in bringing the National Walk of Hope to Regina. I have helped to organize several Lady Balls fundraising events. In Saskatchewan, I am one of the original members of the Patient Family Advisory Council for the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency. And advocacy played an important role in securing $1 million from the provincial government in 2020 and bolstering the complements of gynecological oncologists in Saskatchewan. My first trips overseas occurred through an international group that I work with, and when I was in my 70s. I'm also a patient advisor on Ovarian Cancer Canada's OvCAN group. In recognition of my work and advocacy, I have received the Peggy Truscott Award, the Regina YWCA Women of Distinction Award, and the Volunteer Medal for Saskatchewan Senior Mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And lastly, from Bell River, Ontario, we have Shannon Cater. Shannon?
Thank you, Donna. Hello, a big warm teal welcome to everyone attending. I'm honored to be speaking to you today as a patient partner. As you know, my name is Shannon. I am 43 years old, and I live in Bell River, a small lakeside community just outside of Windsor, Ontario. I am the proud mom to 3 boys who keep me smiling every day. After taking 2 years off for cancer treatment, I'm now back working full-time at a job I love for a local parks and recreation department. I spend a great deal of time learning and participating in everything I can related to ovarian cancer and BRCA genetic mutations, which you will hear about later, my family has a vested interest in. Along with being a patient partner for Ovarian Cancer Canada, I also participate in advocacy and awareness events with several other organizations, including co-running a weekly cancer support group online. My personal journey with ovarian cancer, technically fallopian tube cancer, began in 2019 when I was diagnosed by accident after a hysterectomy. The fabulous, busy, carefree life that I led stopped pretty much on a dime. Can anyone relate? Outside of my cancer world, I am an avid lover of anything outdoors, camping, hiking, kayaking, and animals. I truly believe that some of my best healing happened by just immersing myself in the great outdoors. My best friend is a giant Great Dane named Harley who literally never leaves my side. On my hard days, and ladies, there are hard days, I'm held strong by the support of my wonderful family, friends, and coworkers. I'm so grateful that you are here today, as each and every one of you are a link in my Teal Sister world. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shannon, and thanks to each of you for being here today. So let's get started. Talin, over to you.
Thanks, Donna. Our first question today is for Julee. Julee, you're an exceptional cancer patient who's been living with ovarian cancer for 10 years. Why do you think it's important for patients to be a part of research initiatives like OvCAN?
Well, you know, if you're just getting into this world of living with ovarian cancer, or if it's recent, this might sound familiar to you. Every specialist you encounter has an incredibly well-developed skill set, but it's very, very linear, very narrow in a way. And they need that. We need them to have had that incredibly well-honed expertise, and we're very glad that they have it. But one of the results is that it can be difficult to feel seen or treated as a whole person. And sometimes you might have the experience of feeling on a given day that a specialist or a surgeon you have just seen, you've come away from that maybe a little underassured or a little dissatisfied. And that's natural, and it's because there's only one person who totally understands what you're going through, and it's you. So this experience, that subjective nature of going through ovarian cancer and having the entirety of your life and your relationships affected by it, that can be transformed into your superpower. And so patients becoming patient partners in research, we can contribute to the development of study design, the data collection and interpretation, and then transforming and translating that into future studies, because we bring with us that unique contribution of what it's like going through diagnosis, treatment, etc. Taking all of this into account at the outset can help contribute to really successful studies. So patients and patient partners, we're important.
Thanks, Julee. Absolutely. You're the only person going through every single part of your diagnosis and treatment, and that's such an important thing to remember and for researchers and clinicians to keep in mind.
Yes, thank you, Julee. And it is so amazing to know that you are a 23-year survivor of high-grade ovarian cancer. And you also have a long history of helping and leading other cancer patients. Do you think that every woman who's diagnosed with ovarian cancer can potentially contribute to research initiatives like OvCAN? Or how do you think that they can help?
Yes, I think every woman can potentially contribute to research projects like OvCAN. It may require innovation and a variety of options. I realize not everyone can be involved directly or in real time. They may not be comfortable with it or well enough, but there could be other ways they provide feedback and share their experience. I've been told repeatedly that many researchers never get to meet a real survivor. By sharing our cancer journeys, we can help make it real for scientists, researchers, and behind the scenes. They can learn from our stories. They can share in our emotions. They can gain an understanding of our experiences and our fears.
Thank you, Anne. Shannon, you've talked about your wish to honor some dear friends who you lost to ovarian cancer. Was this one of the reasons why you became a patient partner in research?
When I was initially diagnosed, I was hungry for information. I knew I needed help in learning all I could, and I wanted guidance from Canadian women who knew this journey personally. How were they coping? Where were the best doctors? What were the best treatments? And so on. I learned about Dialogue Forum run by Ovarian Cancer Canada and decided to give it a try. Just days after logging in, a very special lady named Leslie66 took me under her wing. We connected instantly. Our friendship blossomed very quickly. We began sending each other snail mail letters, and one day before my very first chemo treatment, she sent me a pre-chemo package full of all kinds of goodies, hats to cover my soon-to-be bald head, and a beautiful handwritten letter full of tips and tricks to get me through the worst days. We texted one another all the time, and since she lived only a few hours away in Oshawa, we had planned to meet for a coffee date soon. But just as I was finishing my chemo, unknown to either one of us at the time, Leslie's battle was coming to an end. And I lost her just 4 months later after ringing in the new year of 2020. A few months into my chemo treatment, I seen a posting in my area from a woman named Jenny, who was also battling ovarian cancer in the city I lived in, so I reached out. She and another ovarian cancer survivor were involved in raising funds for Ovarian Cancer Canada through an annual large golf tournament that they put on and ran. They both welcomed me with open arms, and the three of us became fast friends. We shared all the usual stories of struggle, fear, frustrations, but we also shared laughs and crazy hair escapades, and we drank the best fancy coffees at outdoor cafes. They both taught me that the little people can make a huge impact, as they alone raised $30,000 in a single golf tournament that they put on for Ovarian Cancer Canada the previous year. We lost Jenny last summer as well, as yet another Teal sister gained her wings. And I walk by their pictures hanging in my bedroom every day, and I smile at their memories while vowing to continue speaking up and speaking out about ovarian cancer. I dedicate my time and my energy to being a patient partner and advocating like this because of these beautiful women and because of every other woman battling ovarian cancer, like all of us here today.
Shannon, thank you. And I know that we all feel emotional listening to you. This is also a good reminder for all of us that there were a total of 47 ovarian cancer patients who were involved in lobbying our federal government over a 4-year period. And many of those women didn't survive to see the $10 million be granted for our efforts. So just want to acknowledge that as well. Thank you, Shannon.
Julie, the next question is for you. You were a member of the group of women who lobbied our federal government in Ottawa for an investment in ovarian cancer research. Speaking personally, what made you get involved as a patient partner in research?
Well, you know, as is highlighted by these 47 other women, my time on this earth, my energy, my resources, they're all so curtailed by this disease. And so I obviously feel very, very emotionally attached to the results of the research and of the fundraising efforts that are made in the name of this disease that lives in me. But I think it's about more than leaving a legacy. It's also about recognizing the time and the care and the effort of all the members of my family and my friends, all that they've done in trying to hope and help, donate, praying for a miracle for years. So it's a deeply emotionally laden and invested experience. And so naturally, we want to ensure that all the research funds that are gathered are being allocated and used well. But this could stand in for any kind of cancer or disease. So this reminds me of a really poignant moment on that day at Parliament Hill. I was speaking with an MP during the reception, and he said something to me. He said, okay, well, my father has ALS, and you know, there are a lot of great causes out there, and they all need money. So why should we give money to ovarian cancer? And I'd been well prepared in our preparations for that day. So I was able to say, you know, the very real and persuasive argument was that the horse is already at the gate. You know, we've had no changes in survival outcomes for 50 years. We'd had no real changes in the standard of therapy for roughly the same time, 50 years. So those gold standards, we needed to address them. And so I said, if you want to take what in the grand scheme of the federal budget dollars is a very small drop in the bucket, and take that money and give it to something that's going to have a huge impact in women's lives in the near future, this is it. And he said it was persuasive, and he was going to speak to the government on our behalf as well, and or with the members of Parliament on our behalf. And he was a member of the opposition. So I hold that moment in my heart because it reminds me of how all these causes are deserving of our compassion and consideration. And when we ask that it be our turn, we acknowledge that it also means that other people might have to wait. So it's a special gift we have to use very carefully.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the role that you've played in the federal lobbying that you did. And the next question is for you. You were one of a delegation who successfully lobbied your provincial government in Saskatchewan. Your advocacy led to much needed improvements in gynecologic cancer patients in your province. What motivated you to get involved with the OvCAN Patient Partners and Research Team?
It was a combination of factors. I saw firsthand how doctors were getting burned out and leaving or talking about leaving. My involvement at the national international tables, including the Ovarian Cancer Canada Board, allowed me to see the care and treatment available to women in other provinces and countries that wasn't available in Saskatchewan. Surgery was often performed by gynecologists instead of gyne-oncologists. That's just one example. And since there was no clinical trials here, our ladies had to go elsewhere to participate. I wanted women in Saskatchewan to have the same resources and options as others outside the province to beat this disease.
Amazing. And for anyone who missed the previous OvCAN session, the province of Saskatchewan committed $1 million to ovarian cancer research and played such a huge role in obtaining those funds. Thank you, Anne.
Yes, thank you, Anne. You were smart enough and brave enough to just ask for the money, and they gave it to us. So thank you so much for that. Julee, you were originally diagnosed with a very advanced stage 4 ovarian cancer, and over many years, you have dealt with more than one serious recurrence of your disease. What message do you have for other women who are diagnosed?
Yes, right. And one of those recurrences was a frontal lobe brain metastasis, followed by 2 progressive retrocaval lymphatic metastases. So the situation has been, for all intents and purposes, quite dire. And yet, here's a highlight. What did I say to my neurosurgeon when he said to me I'd likely have 2 months to 2 years? I looked him in the eye and said, I think I'll see you in 5 years. And I really meant it. And so my message to all, these women, I'm with you in heart and spirit. But my message is to live. You're living with this condition, and you can live securely and strongly in the moment, as if every breath you're going to use and spend on this earth is for a purpose. And for me, it's been important to think of that purpose as being to learn to live better, to love better, to connect better with others. And in each moment that we do that, time can expand and feel even longer than it would have been before. So that's my advice. That's what helps me.
Thank you, Julee. What you're saying is that you're focused on living, and that's really beautiful. Thank you. Shannon, like Julee, you were also diagnosed with ovarian cancer at a relatively young age. You're also very fortunate and quite unique because, unlike most women, your cancer was detected at an early stage. It was actually discovered by accident. Why do you think it's important for ovarian cancer patients to be part of research initiatives like OvCAN's?
Well, being diagnosed at 40 was devastating. And knowing that I might have been able to prevent it with risk-reducing surgery had I known about my BRCA status beforehand is devastating to me. But being diagnosed at an early stage and having a possible chance at staying NED longer term creates a sense of responsibility in me. For many women who are diagnosed late, as we all know, they don't get the chance to speak out. So we need to be their voice. I believe it's extremely important for patients like us to be a part of research initiatives like OvCAN because we are the ones that live the ovarian cancer experience. It's great to know that scientists and researchers are out there working on new treatments and advancements in labs every day. But at the end of the day, it's us that go through it. We suffer the side effects. We endure the unknowns as we rally to sign up as living experiments in new clinical trials that might offer hope to women like us. It's long past time that patients are welcomed into the meetings and symposiums that scientists and researchers have, and that they see the faces of the actual women that represent this disease. We are not just biopsied tissue samples in a lab or confused cells under a microscope. We need a seat at the table. We have relevant lived experience to share with the medical community, and our input matters.
Thank you, Shannon. You're absolutely right. The patient voice is loud, and we have a lot to contribute. Shannon, this next question is also for you. As a partner, you have learned that the OvCAN project is unique in that our approach to ovarian cancer research focuses on the entire spectrum of the disease, and that we encourage research in less common subtypes. What does this mean to you personally? And what do you think this mandate could mean for other women who are diagnosed?
I think the only thing lonelier and more fearful than receiving a diagnosis of ovarian cancer is finding out that you have a subtype that has very little information available on it. You might start looking online, but you're not likely going to find many other women in support groups with these rare subtypes. So where do you go and what do? You reach out to Dr. Google, which, by the way, ladies, don't do. He's the worst doctor ever. And you discover that there's little research, little funding, and sometimes even less treatment options available to you. We certainly all want to be rare and unique in our own special ways, but this is not one of those times. So OvCAN and the Patient Partners and Research Program is hoping to fix that. We are speaking up and strongly encouraging our researchers and scientists and grant applicants to focus not just on high-grade serous, which accounts for something like 80% of all diagnoses, but also the other rare subtypes. When research funding is thin, and we all know that funding for ovarian cancer research is thin in general, even less of those monies get directed towards these rare subtypes. These women count just as much as the rest of us and deserve to be finally put at the forefront of research into new therapies and treatments.
Shannon, thank you, and I appreciate and agree 100% with everything that you've said, as I am a person who is living with a disease, an ovarian cancer, that I'm only one of 3% of all ovarian cancers, so very rare subtype. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Shannon. I told myself I wouldn't cry during this panel, but you are all making it incredibly difficult. Our next question is for Anne. And our patient partners have been invited to participate in the upcoming Canadian Conference on Cancer Research. We will be meeting with the next generation of cancer researchers, scientific and clinical students, PhD and postdoctoral students. What would you like this next generation of scientists and clinicians to know about your experience as an ovarian cancer patient?
I feel like there's more hope now because of research and treatment has come a long way since I was diagnosed 23 years ago. However, we still have a long way to go. We need to continue to find new and better treatments, especially an early detection tool. It's so important for women to be diagnosed at an early stage and to learn even more about prevention, and hopefully continue in the in-depth research on the lesser known ovarian cancers.
Thank you, Anne. Julie, our monthly patient partner meetings always include an educational session from a researcher. The researchers have provided us with real-time updates on their work in their laboratories. How has hearing about current scientific progress affected you?
Well, one word comes to mind, and it may sound like a cliche, but really it isn't, not for me, and it's hope. Really, when I see how decades of unchanged treatment standards and survival outcomes are about to be upended, perhaps right within my own lifetime, I'm so encouraged, and I let myself hope just that little bit, maybe I will live long enough to experience this. Just maybe I'll get that oncolytic virus or whatever. However, I've also been really touched and moved by how the scientists and the researchers have such reverence for me as a patient. And that experience has been really incredible when I've met them. I've seen how hard they work personally and how invested they have been throughout their lives trying to develop new life-saving therapies. And I once told a researcher, "It's okay, I'm not asking you to save my life." I didn't want to place that burden on her, and yet for a moment I joked with her. And I said, oh, don't worry, it's just my life we're talking about here. But instantly I saw how inconsiderate those words were on her. The impact was huge. I saw her body kind of drop a little bit. And so I realized, she does really care and she is really trying. And so I said, don't worry, it's okay, I'm not expecting that. So this illustrates, I have to remind myself, for me, I can't give in to the temptation to make the research today about me. That said, one can still hope. But, hearing about and supporting the progress of the scientists in their research as they present it, not only has it helped them be humanized for me, but I am reassured that it also helps humanize me for them, that on the other side of their grant application processes, the other side of that pen, they know who's there. And that's a really powerful feeling.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm just sitting here fighting back tears, so I'm just going to let Donna move on with the questions.
Thank you, Julie. And yes, our work as patient partners, much of our goal is to humanize the ovarian cancer patient for the doctors. But as patient partners, I know we'll all agree that meeting the research physicians and understanding how motivated, how dedicated, how passionate they are, how much they care has created just an amazing amount of hope for all of us. So, we're so lucky to be able to meet with these experts and be inspired by them. And our next question is for you. A few months ago, you received some special training that enabled you to work alongside a committee of international scientific experts to determine the final rankings for clinical trial submissions. You had a voice at the research table. So what was that like? As a patient partner, was that like the most rewarding experience you've had so far?
The training was excellent. They treated us as equals and ensured we weren't intimidated by the experts or the clinical language. They took great pains to show how much they appreciated our participation, and they made us feel as a very important part of the process. It was rewarding to be involved, ask for our opinions and experience, and feel like we were heard and appreciated.
So you were very empowered by that experience, Anne. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Our last question for the panel is for Shannon. Despite having no known family history of ovarian cancer, you inherited a BRCA mutation and have also discovered 2 of your children carry the mutation. As a patient partner, you've had meetings with medical and genetics experts who were looking to hear about your lived experience. How do you think hearing your story helped those physicians and scientists?
I would like to think they remember my story. I like to throw this question at them for thought. How is it that the very parts of my body designed to create and produce life are the very ones trying to take it away? I'd like to think they remember the girl who they got it wrong for on so many levels, but is still considered lucky today to be caught early. I remember when I was initially having symptoms related to what they thought was just a simple ovarian cyst that kept coming back. There was no sense of urgency. It's so common. It's so unlikely to be anything to worry about. You have no family history of gynecological cancers. Oh, you are so young. Oh, we don't do CA-125 blood tests just for cysts. Blah, blah, blah. And how they were wrong. It was only because I insisted on a hysterectomy and removal of that innocent cyst, which thankfully my doctor agreed to, that my cancer was even discovered. How many times do I hear this story over and over and over again? I tried to tell them, but they didn't listen. We could have caught it earlier, if only. Despite my boys being tired of hearing about it, BRCA and ovarian cancer are very common topics of discussion in my house. I am fiercely determined to stop this familial cancer gene from being passed down to my grandchildren. Sorry, BRCA, it stops here. In the meantime, I'm learning everything I can to help my children understand their increased risks and also to understand why I fight and advocate so strongly. For the first time in human history, we now have the tools to ensure that genetic dysfunctions like BRCA1 and 2 are eradicated in the next generation. But this technology is not cheap, and it does not come easy to most Canadians. We are only dipping our toes in the realms of genetics when it comes to cancer prevention and treatments. But there is hope. PARP inhibitors are finally changing the forefront in some cancers like ours, and I am so excited and hopeful to see what the next few years bring in the fight against these cancers, both in preventing their occurrence in the first place, detecting them early, and treating them efficiently when they do occur. Ladies, together we are strong. If you like speaking up, speak up. If you don't, write a letter. Contact your government representatives, volunteer, join our patient partner and research team, or whatever organization you desire. Just please don't be silent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that powerful message, Shannon.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. Further to your point, that served as a good reminder that the challenge the challenge that still exists today, particularly for younger women that are challenged to receive an ovarian cancer diagnosis, or ovarian cancer diagnosis is significantly delayed over a year, 2 years, 3 years, simply because of their age. So yes, the patient voice needs to continue to be loud, and we need to use every opportunity we can to educate the doctors. Sorry, okay, I think that is it actually for our panelist questions today. So thank you, everyone. Talin, do we have time for some questions from our audience? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that we do, just because the next session is coming up. But I think that there's a few people who are asking how they can get involved in patient partners and research. And to anyone who's interested, you can email me or Dr. Alicia Tone. I have a booth in the exhibit hall. You're free to stop by, and I can send you our email addresses and any other information through there to anyone who's interested.
Right, thank you. And so in closing, I'd also like to say that there is one more very important thing that our patient partners in research do. Our patient partners provide hope. Our knowledge is another facet of support that we can offer and share with our community of those who are affected by ovarian cancer.
Thank you to all of our wonderful panelists and to everyone who joined this session today. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day and enjoys the rest of the sessions coming up.